Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Not some, not half, all of them. Now, bring them all, achieve peace.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this live conversation with Bring Them Home. Speaking today with NADAV RUDAEFF, is the son of LIOR. Hi, NADAV. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Han. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you holding up?
It's a complex question. Um, it's okay. I'm fine, I guess. But again, it's a very complex. Fine, and life goes on, and the fight goes on. So we're doing whatever we can, and with everything that is shifting very quickly all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start with your dad, and I want you to describe your father to everyone watching us. How who was he as a father and as a person?
That's it's a big question. I think I will begin by telling a bit about my dad in general. My dad was born in Argentina, and at the age of 7, he came to Israel with his family. And the first home he knew, besides Buenos Aires in Argentina, um, is Nir Yitzhak, is the kibbutz where I was born and raised. He was living there since he was 7. My mom, when she was in the IDF, she went to a Gar'in in kibbutz Nir Oz, which is kind of Nir Oz is another kibbutz that was affected badly on October 7th. And she knew everyone there. And at some point, my mom and my dad met, and then mom moved to Nir Yitzhak. They married, and then they had my older sister, Noam. And then a year after I came along, um, and a couple of years afterwards, my two younger brothers also came to the world, Bal and Ben. Dad, it's kind of hard to describe who dad was as a person, especially talking in past tense, because it's weird to talk about someone that in my head is very much alive, although it's been almost 2 years since October 7th. Um, he was a very cynical, caring person. He could say everything to your face with no apologies and still give you a hug at the end. And, it was kind of this tough love situation, but with everyone. It wasn't an issue of me being his son or my aunt being his sister. He treated everyone the same, but family came before everything to him. He was a family man through and through. Um, and 9 years ago, my first nephew, Noam's son, was born. And then it kind of shifted from him being our dad to him being a grandpa, which is kind of was his dream all along. So it was very nice to see him kind of evolving as a person and being more, not that he wasn't before, but he became more soft and more caring in a way. Um, but he loved food, as most Argentinians. He loves to do like a barbecue, asado. So we used to eat a lot of family home cooked meals at home. And a couple of years ago, the kibbutz went a transition where everything basically runs the same all over the world and not just as a communal society. And then he discovered cooking not like an Argentinian, not just with open flame. So he used to cook all the time, and he used to call us every, I don't know, Sunday, Monday, in the beginning of the week to ask all of us, all of the kids, if we're coming home, because he needs to prepare himself of what to prepare for food during the weekend.
Yeah.
Uh, and he started to fulfill in the last couple of years um, his hobbies. He bought a motorcycle. He started cycling. So he was a very well-rounded person that knows how to, moves between work and pleasure and combining the both and the two and doing each separately, but and he was very grounded to the place where he lived as a person. He volunteered all the time, not only in the kibbutz in general. So I kind of grew up in the shadow of a dad that, on one hand, he's a very macho Argentinian man, but at the same time, he's a very Israeli kibbutznik person, which is kind of weird combination, but it works.
Amazing. Was there any like phrase that you used to say, or any, a habit or tradition or something that you can share with us?
My dad, my dad, let's say that his language wasn't the nicest. He used to swear a lot. He used to say a lot of things, mostly in Spanish, as a way of like communicating how he feels about mostly bad things. Um, he didn't really have any phrases of some sort, like a guideline of how to live. He was more of an action kind of person.
Mm,
He used to he was talk less, do more kind of guy.
mm,
So everything is kind of, I remember a lot of things that relates to my dad in the way that how would he do it, not
mm.
what he would say about it. Although I can hear him a lot of the things and times that I'm doing all sorts of things, I can hear what he would say to me, but there isn't one specific thing that I can
Yeah. But it
tell you
sounds
that
like he was a straight shooter and a very honest guy.
definitely,
Yeah. Um,
definitely.
and, can we go to October 7th? And I want to ask you what you remember from that day, and when did you first learn about what happened?
Um, First of all, I remember everything about that day. 3 weeks after October 7th, I came back home to where I live right now in Ramat Gan, in the center of Israel. And I sat down and wrote down everything that I remember with time, with like, I knew I couldn't, let it slip by. I knew I needed to understand. And like most Israelis, on the morning of October 7, on 6:29 in the morning, I woke up in my apartment with my partner and our dog, um, to the sound of an alarm. And we went out to the staircase. It wasn't something that, it took us by surprise, but it wasn't something that I wasn't used to, especially as someone that was born and raised in a kibbutz in the south of Israel, next to the Gazan border. I have this system of what to do when an emergency happened. And we woke up, we went out to the staircase. We have a very anxious dog. She's shivering, she's panting, she's our child, so we're treating her and giving our whole focus to her. And a couple of minutes passed by. We heard some explosions outside, probably because the missiles were put down. Um, and we went back inside. I was like 6:20, like 6:30 in the morning. Like, it's a holiday. What's going on? I didn't think much about it, and then I thought I would go back to sleep, so I went back inside that. And a couple of minutes later, another alarm. We're going out again, and then we start texting in the family WhatsApp group. It's like a it's like what we do. It's what we used to do every time there is alarms. Like, we're saying, "I'm okay. How is everyone? We're okay. We have alarms. This and that." Um, Fairly on, my mom wrote that they have a lot of explosions and gunfire and noise in the kibbutz. And my sister was at the kibbutz the day prior, and they went back because her oldest kid, Tomer, wanted to participate in some of an activity that happened in the kibbutz. So they were sleeping in tents next to the dining hall of their kibbutz. Um, so my sister wrote that I'm at home alone, and my husband is at the activity with the kids, their two sons, and everyone started like saying what's going on. And then my mom wrote that Ben is at the party. Ben wrote to us that he's at the party. And then Noam asked him if he's in Kibbutz Re'im, which was where the Nova Festival music was taking place. Um, and everything started like moving very, very quickly. And then at some point, I'm talking in the span of like 15 minutes, my mom wrote to us that dad is taking off. He was supposed to go out on a motorcycle trip with his friends that Saturday. And then he took off his vest, his helmet, all the equipment for the ride, and he put on his equipment for the first responders team, like, his bulletproof vest, his weapon, and everything kind of moved quickly. And from that moment on, everything we did basically for almost 6 hours was only making sure that Ben, my younger brother, is okay, because he was at the Nova Festival. No one was talking about it. And my dad volunteered in the first responders team of the kibbutz for 40 years. Since he was released from the army, he volunteered in the first responders team in the kibbutz. So it wasn't something new to us that dad is going out whenever there's an emergency. And he was also an ambulance driver and a volunteer medic in Magen David Adom. So it wasn't something out of the ordinary for us that dad is going outside. And if there's one thing we know about him in those type of situations, is don't bother him. So we're not calling, we're barely texting. He was talking to my mom a couple of times. And then after roughly 6 hours, Ben was able to get himself and another friend to safety. They ran for a long time during everything that happened in the Nova Festival. With everything unimaginable that happened there. They went through an horrific 6 hours of fleeing their lives while seeing horrible images of their friends, people they just danced with, lying around and fighting and fleeing their lives also. Um, and all of this time, it's kind of weird communication of only texting, of calling my sister, of at one point my sister told me, I need you to make sure that grandpa is fine, my father's dad, because he's also living in the kibbutz. He just celebrated his 90th birthday last May. So I called my grandpa and I was like, "Where are you?" And he was like, "I'm sitting next to the computer because I don't understand what's going on. He has a bit of trouble with hearing, and he's an older person. Um, and his computer is not inside the safe room of his apartment." And it's at that point I was like telling him, "You need to get up, you need to go inside the safe room." I'm talking roughly at 11:30 in the morning, 5 hours since everything started, and my grandpa is not at the safe room. And he put me on speakerphone, speaker, and then I explained to him how to lock the door. And that specific thing is like engraved in me, that sound of him trying to close the door. And this whole day was kind of, I need to help, I need to do something, but there's nothing I can do. At some point in the morning, because I understood Ben was at the Nova Festival, I told my partner that I'm jumping onto the car and I'm driving south so I can at least get him out of there. And there was, I couldn't, I barely even started the car, and he told me, like, go back, like, you have nowhere how you can go there because they're everywhere. And this whole day was us sitting with our TV on one channel and my computer on another and my partner computer on another, and everything was kind of chaotic. And I was in disbelief the whole day, because then the images of what's happening started to be on live TV, and I saw the place where I grew, and the people that I grew up with and their parents' homes are on fire. And news started to come about friends that are affected, injured. No one heard about from them for a long time. And then a friend of mine from the kibbutz started writing that her mom is not picking up. Her mom is Clara Marman, that was abducted from the kibbutz with her family and was released to our most joy. She was released after 53 days with her sister and her daughter, and her partner Luis and her brother Fernando was rescued on after 129 days. But that day specifically, after Ben was able to escape, we started asking ourselves, like, what's going on with dad? But at the same time, I kind of held this feeling of everything is chaotic. It's much, much, much bigger and crazier than ever before. And dad is, he has his work cut out. Like, I don't think at that point, at around midday, I understood that that was no longer in the kibbutz. And afterwards, we understood that he wasn't probably alive at that point. Um, and then after, the whole day was a lot of texting and talking with friends and family and understanding what's going on in the kibbutz. And the terrorist went inside my aunt's home while my cousin was there with her 3 kids. So it was a lot of chaos and a lot of tears. The thing I remember most vividly is at around 8 in the morning, I just looked at my partner and I was like, after 3 years, I was like, I'm going back smoking. Like, I need a cigarette. Um, And after 14 and a half hours, the IDF rescued all of the residents of the kibbutz from their homes to a more secure location inside the kibbutz so they can keep all of them together. And that was the first time that we could have called my mom and talked to her and listen and hear her. Which was devastating because I still held this feeling of dad is gonna come inside any second now, and he's gonna tell us like, stop crying, everything is okay, this and this happened, I'm good. But it was so out of the ordinary of for him not to check back on what's going on with mom, what's going on with Ben, because he knew Ben was at the Nova Festival. That's the agreement my mom and my dad did that morning. Like, I'm going out, you take care of Ben. Um, and then it was more than 24 hours of the kibbutz is in the kindergarten area of the kibbutz, and we're talking. And then we got the notice that the head of security of the kibbutz, Yaron Avraham, was killed, and another first responder member, Ofek Arazi, was also killed. And we had 5 people missing. I'm saying 5 because we talked only about the people from the kibbutz, but we had basically 9 people that went missing that we didn't know what's going on with them. And it was kind of like that the whole 24 hours of me looking at, you know, the TV, my computer, trying to understand what's going on, falling asleep at some point. And then at around 4:30 in the morning, I woke up on the sofa in my home, and I looked at my partner. He was sleeping on the couch. Um, and I texted my sister, and I was like, "Can you sleep?" And she was like, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." I didn't mention, but my third brother, Bar, at 10 a.m. on October 7th, got a call to come to reserve because he was an officer in the IDF. So he was one of the lucky ones that got the call that they needed to come immediately because the situation was very, very complex. And then at around 6:30 in the morning of October 8th, I went, I just got in the car. I drove to my sister's house. She lives next to Ashdod. And I remember sitting with her for the first time, you know, seeing someone from my family after this whole day. Um, both of us crying, cannot talk. And then, like, a cup of coffee, we're sitting outside. I'm smoking, like, I haven't smoked for 3 years before, and it was like I couldn't stop. And then my sister looked at me, and she told me, I don't think my pregnancy will hold on. Um, 3 days before October 7th, my sister called all of us. She texted us in the family group chat, and she was like, "Come, all of you need to come home today to my home because I need to tell you something." We all understood fairly quickly like what's going on, and she told us she's pregnant again, and it's a daughter now. It's a girl. And my dad, she has 2 older sons. My dad couldn't be happier that it's a girl. And the first thing she told me when we met on October 8th was, I don't think she will survive this. Um, she survived it. My
Mm.
sister went to term. Her daughter is now a year and a half year old. She just started kindergarten. after being with her mom at home for more than a year. So
What's her
it's
name?
kind of her name is Shai, which in Hebrew
Mm,
translate to a gift or a present, which she is.
mm,
Um, which was kind of the first, I think, sign of true hope and happiness. And it was kind of this conflict of when she was born, and she was born at a time when we still held hope that dad is alive and surviving. um but that's the first, like, 24 hours. Later that day on October 8th, my brother and my sister's husband went to grab Ben from the kibbutz he was in, where he was able to go to safety after he fled from the Nova Festival. And my mom took my grandpa, and they came. All of the kibbutz were evicted to Eilat through Beersheba, and my mom took my grandpa, and they came to my sister's house. And for the first week, we were there. Um, and then it was, the beginning of us starting to gather information of what happened since the minute that left home that morning. With each of us held his own trauma, where he was and how he was that day, with my mom being alone, and above all of this and everything that we've been through 24 hours. It's the big question of, where's dad, like, what's going on. um and then we started. I don't like to use the term fight, because I think what we're doing and our cry for their release is, it's a humane call. It's not a fight. But in Hebrew it translates to fight.
mm,
So yeah, that's basically the first day of October 7th.
mm. I know it might sound, and before I ask the next question, I know we have viewers from on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us for this conversation with Nadav Rudaeff, the son of LIOR Rudaeff, which was killed and kidnapped into Gaza, still held in Gaza. If you have questions for us, please send us the questions. We can address them later. But I want to ask Nadav and it sounds, I wrote this question earlier, and as I was writing it, I was thinking that it might not come across well, but the question of how to cope with something so horrific and knowing that it's every day. I mean, you can't really have a closure to this point. Um, what I know it's a question that is a bit um
I'm not
I
afraid of
know it's
difficult
hard.
questions.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think after October 7th, before you're asking, I think after October 7th, we don't have the privilege not to ask the difficult questions,
Mhm,
because people need to know the truth. So
mhm.
whatever it is, I think I will be able to answer.
So yeah, I mean, the question is really how do you cope and how do you keep going and how it's something that no one can imagine unless you live through it, how bad it is. So can you help us at least try and understand what it's like?
Um, First of all, I want to say to everyone listening that my biggest wish is for no one to know that feeling and to go through it,
Mhm,
because it's there aren't a lot of words that can describe it. We talked a bit yesterday and today, and we talked about that specific questions about how can you explain to people what it is to go through that type of hell on earth.
right,
And I told you that I'm always asking people to imagine their perfect life going on no interruptions. And then one day you lose everything. You lose yourself as a person because now you are the son of LIOR RUDAEFF. And when people look at you, it's automatically um, they have the face of, you know, of sorrow, of actual pain, looking at you and trying to imagine what you're going through. Um, and it's a lot of confusion, it's a lot of doubt, it's a lot of um, not sleeping well, not understanding what are you supposed to do next, like what's the next step. What It's to ask yourself every morning, what can you do more that you haven't done already. um, for the first couple of months before we got the notice that dad had been killed on October 7th and was taken as a prize to Gaza. um, it was a lot of not sleeping very well, almost not eating. I lost roughly 12 kilos in the first 6 months. Um, and it was waking up every morning and understanding that I need to give myself a couple of minutes in bed, lying down, and preparing myself for the day to come, because it's another day of uncertainty, of doubt, of fear, of this feeling of emptiness and anger, and the need to cry, involuntarily, in because you just heard something. um and it's together yourself every morning to understand that everything that is going on now, it's much much bigger than me as a person. It's I'm not the one. I kind of early on understood that I'm not the one suffering. I'm suffering in my own way, in my own merit, where I'm at, but I have a bed and I have a shower and I have free will and I have air that I can breathe. And if I want to go out for a break, that I can take my phone and I can smoke a cigarette, and I can do what I want, even though I'm in the most horrible situation of, you know, the rug was taking off under my feet. And it's a constant feeling of falling down. It's a constant feeling of not trusting anyone, not the official government, and not the military officials. And it's in general trying to work yourself together of being compassionate and being and taking the anger and shifting it to a place when you're acting and doing and operating towards the goal of bringing everyone home. Sorry. um and the and on the other end of it, you have yourself and your family of coping with the absence of dad, which is, he was a very prominent figure in the family. I'm always referring to him as the glue of the family, not just us, the family, all six of us. It's the bigger picture. He was a very prominent figure in the kibbutz. I remember one of the first conversation I had with a member of the kibbutz. I think it was a week after October 7th. She came to me and she was like, "They burned my car, and I need to buy a new car, and your dad is not here to help me understand which kind of car I need to buy." Because after the kibbutz went through this transition, everyone was allowed to keep their own cars. And my dad, in his profession, dealt with everything that refers to driving license and wheels in general. And he was, half of his life he was living on the road. He was a truck driver for 10 years, and he did a lot of lectures on how to drive safely, and in many ways. And he helped most of the people in the kibbutz to buy their first car. And it was such a small thing for him to do, but it was very you know needed. um Wait, okay, it was very needed for the people that knew him and lived with him in the kibbutz. And it was, all of a sudden I needed to kind of comfort her of him not being here, and everything is mixed. All of the feelings are mixed up. I can wake up one morning very happy and say thanks for what I do have, and the fact that I'm always reminding myself to stay grounded, because fairly easily, most of my family could not been here today if the terrorists would have gotten their way in the kibbutz, and if my dad and his friends from the first responder team wouldn't have done what they did that day, which is heroic in every measure possible. So it's, I'm trying to stay very grateful of what I do have, and the understanding that right now my dad, we got the notice that dad was killed on October 7th and was taking um, to Gaza after 7 months from October 7th. And ever since then, our we had some, as a family, as a collective, we had kind of a shift of understanding that whatever happens next, the end result for us wouldn't be, this lovely picture of us running in the hospital corridors and hugging him and crying together and getting the hugs that we want. Um, we would bury him. We would say bye for the last time. And my dad went out that morning because he knew that the right thing to do is go out and save as many lives as possible. As a first responder team personnel, as a medic, as a person that, a threat was laid upon him on that day. So he went out and did the right thing of protecting and doing whatever he could to make sure that everyone else was safe and to save lives. So ever since we got the notice, we're trying to go, in his path of, there are still to this day 22 hostages that are assumingly alive. And I'm saying assumingly because every second everything can change, and hopefully it won't, and then they will come out and reunite with their families, and they will get the hugs that their families and them really deserve. But for us, the most important and urgent thing that can be done is to make a deal for everyone to return, obviously. But the first ones that needs to go out of there are the ones that are surviving a life and suffering every second that they are trying to breathe and imagine how to go through the next minute. So they need to be the first one released, and everything we're doing ever since we understood that dad is not going to come back the way we wanted. Um, we are advocating next to the families of the hostages that are still surviving alive. with no contrast, by the way, for the need. It's not want, it's the need for us to have a closure and to give him the proper burial. And for the rest of the hostages, they're unfortunately not alive anymore. That either been murdered before and kidnapped, or unfortunately lost their life in captivity. So it's, as I said in the beginning of the question, it's a very complex um, way of living, but it's kind of, for more than 20 years, we got to to live in this sort of situation when every minute of every day a missile can be launched at us, and for us to be attacked by terrorists in Gaza. And there was a time when they would send a really big batch of balloons. Attached to it was a detonating device of some sort. So we kind of learned, and I'm saying it with the biggest regret for me personally, because we didn't stood up at when we needed to say this is not normal. We're not supposed to live in this constant fear of something happening and people trying to kill us. um so it was kind of this last 2 years, we unfortunately, and I'm saying it with huge regret, um, we understood that our future would still be with no dad in that future, which brings a lot of different difficulties in how to cope on the day-to-day basis. Um, but it's just a long, horrible, confusing day. It's 703 3 days now since October 7th, and still 48 hostages are being held in captivity. So nothing has changed in the way that I'm operating. I have good days and bad days like everyone else, but it comes with a lot of extra weight that, as I said, no one needs to know what it feels, and I'm hoping and wishing that no one would ever will learn that, because
Yeah.
it's not a way that people are supposed to be.
Mm, absolutely, and I hope you won't have to continue feeling this way. We have a few more minutes, but I wanted to ask you something that I'm seeing, and I think it's this dilemma or conflict that people have in the West that are really pro-Israel. They love Israel and they're defending us and they're speaking up for us. But then, we're hearing from the many of the families that are protesting against the government in Israel, and they're calling for a deal. And how do they reconcile being pro-Israel and supporting Israel, but also knowing that the families are saying, we need to pressure the Israeli government to achieve a deal?
It's a very simple answer. The the country I live in, I'm a citizen of the country of Israel. Most of the hostages are citizens of Israel only. Not They don't have a second citizenship anywhere else. Some of them do have. My dad has an Argentinian citizenship, which is okay. But the country we live in, the country they were taking off, they were taking from, is the state of Israel. It doesn't matter who is the prime minister. It doesn't matter who is the elected officials currently sitting in the coalition and taking the decisions. They have an obligation towards the people that live, towards the citizens that live in Israel, the same way citizens in other countries have with their governments. And that obligations of protecting us and taking care of us being able to live here safely and quietly is not being mended, and it's not being taken care of, and it was being neglected for many years, which led to October 7th. So if you're pro-Israel, that means you're pro the country of Israel. The country of Israel belongs to its citizens. It belongs to the people that lives here.
Mhm.
Jewish people, Christian people, Muslim people, Druze people, Bedouin people, everyone that lives in the country of Israel, which is a citizen and have a home here. They call this place a home. This is what being pro-Israel is. I cannot come, I can blame Hamas, and I am blaming Hamas and all its proxies of what they did that day and ever since, because once they will bring back all the hostages, it will end the war. It needs to be on terms that are agreeable on the state of Israel, and unfortunately agreeable on the other side, which is crazy to me that we need uh to be okay with the side that is saying very loudly, we want you dead, we don't want you here.
Mhm.
But being pro-Israel is being pro the people that live here. And I have no other address as a citizen of this country than the elected government that are in office. So I'm protesting, and a lot of the family are protesting against their unwillingness to end this and to bring back all the hostages. We have a lot of things in Israel that needs to be amended in a lot of different ways. We have a lot of it. No country, no person, no one is perfect. No one is perfect. Uh, Things that I saying are true are not specifically referred to someone else as being correct. The only way that we can move forward and to learn from what happened on October 7th is to understand that we are a humanity and we have an obligation towards each other to treat each other with the minimum respect of we are two people like you and I are talking right now, and we don't have to agree on everything, and we can disagree and we can argue and we can, but we can do it in a way that we're each hearing the other side and talking, because I'm not gonna come because I'm not agreeing with you and I'm gonna break into your house and try to kill you. It's not
Mhm.
something humans with the understanding of how society works would do. Um, and the protests in Israel are against the fact that it's still going on, and the fact that for the past almost a month now there is an answer on a deal. It's a partial deal. It's not ideal, but it's something that can save lives. It's
Mhm.
something that can bring a beginning to the end. It's something that can bring a lot of closure to families that have lost their loved ones, like I do. Um, and it has to happen. We're almost at the 2-year mark since October 7th. It's the longest war that Israel had participated in since the beginning of Israel. It's something that needs to come to a closure, and unfortunately, and I'm saying it because that's the truth, and I'm speaking facts. The one holding the key or the pen in that case is the Prime Minister of Israel, and the Prime Minister of Israel needs to be the one eventually that is saying enough is enough. We need to bring them home. And we won't be silenced to not continue saying exactly that. And that's what we're saying. Of course, there are radical opinions to each side of the political map. And unfortunately, the hostage situation and fight in Israel and outside of it is became political, because each side is trying to, pull to their side. But the majority of people are living in the lines between the edges. We don't, comes from either black or white. It cannot be either this or that. It needs to be both. And both is bringing back all the hostages and ending the war. And right now, it's something that conflicts in the way the government is trying to, negotiate how they're operating. Um, but it's scary. It's scary to wake up every morning not knowing if it's going to be another day of learning a hostage has been murdered, or a soldier that is inside the Gaza Strip right now fighting the right fight of bringing safety and the hostages back. If we're gonna wake up to another one that has passed, and hopefully we won't have any more people losing their life over this war, because I don't think, if going back to your last question, I lost count of how many times I went to graveyards in the last
Mm.
2 years, either to bury or to pay respects, or it's just, the I'm assuming most of the people here are either Israelis or Jewish, but the to sit in a shiva for a mother that just lost her kid because he wanted to bring back hostages is heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's living every day in this constant fear that we don't know what's going to come next, and the only thing that will end this is signing a deal that will bring all of them home, which the minute all of them are home, the war will must end. um so that's why we are, it's kind of hard to say that we're protesting against the government. We're protesting against the decision of or lack of decisions to bring them back and end this, if it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. We're out of time, but Nadav, I just wanted to thank you for your courage in sharing this. And my deepest wish for you, and I'm sure everyone that are watching, is that your family and yourself will have your father brought back to you home soon, and hopefully the next few days we're praying that you can honor him as he deserves to, and we're all going to stand with you and support you in the fight to bring them all home. So thank you so much, Nadav.
Thank you very much. And if I may, just one last thing. There is a lot of evil in the world. I'm talking mostly to the youth people, if there are any of you that are here and listening, and if not, parents and aunts and uncles, please tell them that, or show them the recording. Um, there is enough evil in the world as it is. I'm almost 38 now. I've never known a day with no evil in the world. The only way evil will be eradicated from the world is if we will start just treating each other better, just better, with more kindness, with more caring, with more patience toward each other. And again, even if you have disagreements, it's okay. It's what makes us different than each other. um you don't need any reason, never, to say to people that you love them. So just do it, because The only thing that I regret most ever since October 7th is that every Friday evening I used to call my dad, or he would call me, kind of like, have a good weekend, enjoy what you're doing, kind of catching up. And on October 6th, I didn't call, and my dad didn't call, and it was kind of like, I will talk to him tomorrow. Like, and tomorrow didn't never came. And that's something that I will forever carry with me, of this me wanting to tell him that I love him. Um, so just tell the people that you love them, because you never know when it's gonna go away, and hopefully it will go away many, many, many years from now for all of you. Um, but just be kinder, and remember that they are still here, there in Gaza, and you just need to advocate the truth. And the truth is that more than 700 days, 48 hostages are still there in Gaza, and they need all to be brought back home to Israel, either to reunite with with their families first and foremost, or to be brought back to burial, um, in the respect that they deserve. And please continue your support and standing up us with us, um, and don't lose hope, because we're not allowed and we don't have the privilege. And thank you very much for everyone that tuned in and listened. And thank you, Ken, very much.
Of course, I'm sending you a big hug, Nadav, and
Thank
you're
you.
not alone. We're all with you, and we won't stop until your father is home and all of the hostages are home. Thank you for sharing and being so brave tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Not some, not half, all of them. Now, bring them all, achieve peace.